Imagine standing and looking out over a large lake in South America. You see a land formation on the other side of the lake. Perhaps a familiar checkpoint you navigate towards when hunting animals or navigate where you are in the landscape. Over there, on the other side of the lake, large megafauna such as mammoths, giant ground sloths, and large felines roam around in search of food. These animals are now extinct and have been extinct since the last ice age. What if I told you that there is a high probability that indigenous peoples in South and Central America have experienced this? Evidence of this do exist. In Colombia, South America, the landscape between 11,000 BC and 10,400 BC was characterized by large glacial lakes and savanna. These were good hunting grounds among the cloud forests for the early humans who lived in this area. Near today's capital, Bogota, there was a huge glacial lake called Humboldt. On the mountain ridge at Pubenza, bones and skulls from large mastodons, a type of mammoth, giant tortoises, and armadillos from 14,000 BC were found. This discovery is controversial. However, there are 3 archaeological sites nearby where there is broad agreement on the findings and dating. These finds were discovered in the 1970s. The sites are Tequendama from 9000 BC, Tipito 9800 BC, and El Abra 10400 BC, where stone tools and worked bones from mammoths, horses, armadillos, and deer, among others, have been found. These animals roamed not only North America, but also South America. What is now the capital, Bogota, was the bottom of the Great Lake. A research team has now also examined several sculptures on one of the mountain ridges west of Bogota. The local population has known about these sculptures, but has not spent much time exploring them in detail. The research team, on the other hand, has examined the sculptures more closely and understood how significant they really are. Not only for the region in Colombia, but they are also of great importance to human history and when humans first arrived in South America. The sculptures that have been examined depict several different animals. Several of these animal species are now extinct. Some of them have not walked the earth since the last ice age. What is unique about several of the sculptures is that humans not only shaped the stone sculptures after animal forms, but also spent time shaping the different textures that the various animals had on their backs or skin. The animals have also been carved with an eye for precision in the placement of the eyes, nose, and mouth, reflecting the actual anatomy of the various animals depicted. In order to draw or shape something that resembles real objects or living individuals, one must observe the object or individual very closely. Artists know this very well. The more you observe, the more detailed you can make the design of an art object so that it resembles reality as closely as possible. The discovery of these sculptures suggests that the people who made them did not randomly carve animals from stone based on their imagination, or use old bone remains from extinct animals, but rather demonstrated intelligence in their design through direct observation of living animals. The sculptures are carved out of the rock. They could have carved wooden sculptures, which are much easier to shape, but the indigenous people chose rock instead. It is even more difficult to achieve such precision when carving in stone. Critics may point out that old rock surfaces may have damaged surfaces with textures similar to those sculptures they found. In such cases, it is common for the same texture to be repeated over a larger rock area. Sometimes it is patchy, but it is consistent within a given area. The research team says that this is not the case in the area where the animal sculptures were found in Colombia. There, the area with mountains and loose rocks is mostly smooth, but in some places you can see some texture over a larger area. The ancient artists have delicately shaped texture into the stone. The sculptures show a completely different type of texture than the natural mountain and rock formations around the sculptures. What is unique here is that the textures also change depending on which animal has been carved. A snake sculpture has been carved with a snake skin texture. A turtle sculpture has a different texture on its back, just like in real life. An armadillo sculpture has a completely different texture, similar to what they would have had. Could it be a coincidence that the sculptures have different textures, a kind of mistake made by the ancient artists? The ancient artists clearly cared about and valued the animals they depicted. The animals were most likely around them at the time they were carved. The ancient artists took the time to study the distinctive characteristics of each genotype. They carved the anatomical placement of the animal's eyes in relation to its mouth, snout, shoulders, or shell. At the top of each sculpture, a bull shape has been carved out. They have been specifically carved out of the tops of each animal's heads. Researchers are unsure what these were used for. Some theories they mention are that the bulls may have had spiritual significance, or that they were used as part of mapping important celestial bodies or landmarks. This type of bull has been found in several places around the world. However, they are usually only found on mountain surfaces, unlike in Colombia where they are also placed on top of sculpture heads. Ancient paintings, or petroglyphs as they are also called, have been found in the same area. Several depict symbols and people. Elsewhere in Colombia, in the jungle near the Guaviare department of Colombia, numerous petroglyphs have been found depicting humans, wildlife, and many different symbols. Several of the animals depicted are megafauna from the last ice age that are now extinct. One example is the giant ground sloth and the mastodon. The petroglyphs date back to around 12,000 BC, and there are several locations and walls with these petroglyphs in the area. This means that people have lived in Colombia since around 12,000 BC, before the megafauna disappeared. The land-bridge hypothesis, also called Clovis first, is a theory about how the first humans found and settled in America. This theory suggests that humans migrated across the Bering Strait when an ice corridor opened up between Asia and America around 13,000 BC. People migrated from Asia into America. Eventually, they migrated and moved further south. The land bridge hypothesis has gained a strong foothold among archaeologists and historians. Several discoveries have been made in America that challenge this theory. The discoveries at Monte Verde in Chile from 14,500 BC is challenging the Clovis first theory. There are two more theories for migration into the Americas. The Solutrean migration hypothesis from Europe to North America 15,000 to 20,000 BC, and the coastal migration hypothesis 15,000 to 16,000 BC from coastal areas in Asia to coastal areas in the Americas. More and more discoveries are emerging that indicate that previous theories is outdated and that history books need to be rewritten. Sculptures, petroglyphs, discoveries of bones from ancient humans and artifacts in Colombia show that the Clovis first theory might be incorrect. The findings at Pubenza from 14,000 BC is still debated, but they might be correct. More excavation needs to be done in the surrounding area. The Clovis people have lived in America since 13,000 BC, but there were also people living in South America around 14,000 BC before the Clovis people migrated to America. There were people living in Colombia during the Younger Dryas period. What led to the extinction of the large animals, while a small group of people and smaller animals survived, is not known for certain. Many point to a combination of hunting or overkill and asteroids hitting the Earth during this period. Discoveries have been made that indicate asteroid impact in soil layers dating back to the end of the Ice Age. Where there used to be a lake in Colombia, there is now a bustling capital city, Bogotá. The landscape has changed dramatically since the sculptures and petroglyphs were created. Tell me what you think. Do you believe humans populated South America before the textbooks say? Tell me what you think in the comments section below. Thanks for watching. And remember to stay curious.